Today we're going to show you how to turn this cooler that's got a huge commercial system on it into a cold storage refrigerator for your home and homestead using an air conditioner and a Coolbot system. Check it out. All right, so today is another day for a big upgrade here at the farm. We had a friend of ours years ago give us a walk-in cooler, and we have not been able to use it really effectively since then because the cooling unit doesn't work. And I've done some checking around, and it is super expensive to fix that right there. Those cooling units are not cheap. They have refrigerants in them and a whole bunch of different things that are technical to them. So today we're gonna show you how to use Coolbot. It's a control system that you can order with the link below and a standard residential AC unit, and you can hook it up to your existing cooling unit, like a pre-existing cooler freezer setup. You can build your own custom build out at home, or you can use a trailer even by using a window air conditioner, the Coolbot control system, and we've got ours hooked up to Wi-Fi. We're gonna take you through the whole process of how this worked out for us to get this cooling unit up and working for when we process our lambs, when we put down a deer. We can change the temperatures, we can use it, and we can keep our products nice and cool and refrigerated for a period of time. With the help of Coolbot Pro, we're gonna use that unit to make the air conditioner run as a cooling unit and basically do a retrofit on a pre-existing cooler. All right, so real quick, just some things about this thing here is all the refrigeration stuff is at the top of the unit. So in order to decommission that, all we're gonna do is take that off and we're gonna fill in some of those things with some insulation, but we're gonna get the cooler mounted on the side first. We're gonna end up mounting ours on the side over here because that's where it's gonna be venting out to. It's gonna be venting into the building, which is okay. And then the cooler itself is about 6 feet long by about 4 feet deep. And about 7 feet tall. They recommend that you keep about 2 feet of clearance wherever you're gonna have the air conditioner hanging out. You can go ahead and vent it into the building. Just keep in mind that you're gonna want to make sure that the building is vented out as well, that it has some type of way of releasing heat. Ours is just an open pole barn, so it's gonna work out fine. It's protected from the weather, which is gonna help the electronics. It is gonna create some heat in here, but we have plenty of airflow in this pole barn, so it's not something that we have to be super concerned about. All right, so first thing first, I wanted to show you what's inside the Coolbot here. The box, you've got the actual internal unit for controlling unit inside the cooler itself. So you have this part that goes inside, and this part that's going to be wired through to go to the outside to help connect the Wi-Fi to it there. So they say to go through the setup process of connecting this to the Wi-Fi first. And the important step with all of these things is you want to make sure that you're not connecting power to the Coolbot Pro system until everything's kind of ready to go with your wire connections and all that stuff. And there's a piece of foil in here, which is an important little 2-inch piece of foil for a later time. Don't lose that though. So the URL path that you're gonna go to set up your Coolbot Pro account is gonna be cb.storeitcold.com, cb.storeitcold.com. So we're gonna set up create a new account right here. So we've got Coolbot, jumper, and all that good stuff. We've got our heat cables on there. And then the last thing it says, go ahead and power it on. So we've got this all connected. Remember I said first things first? We don't want to have power to this, but until this is all connected. So it's all connected and we're going to plug in the power. So here we go. This is the important part right here. They said you're going to get a couple different things. You're going to get an air code, which is an E0, and then the outdoor temperature right here. So we have an outdoor temperature and an air code. That means that it's not connected to the Wi-Fi yet, and we're going to follow the steps on here next. Connect your Coolbot to the Wi-Fi. So we're gonna try to find the Coolbot setting down here. It's gonna be Coolbot right here. It's a new selection, so we're gonna pick that one and we're gonna connect it. It is now connected, and it says no internet access or no internet, which we know is the case. So we're gonna connect that, okay, and we're gonna configure it. And then we have our Heartway Farms pole barn Wi-Fi that we're gonna connect that to. And now we have an E2 83 going on here. So we're going to keep following this here. So we switched to having no error codes. The 83 is just the temperature probe that's being read here, and this has data and Wi-Fi connection that was bouncing back and forth here. So we are now connected to the internet, and we can now, before we disconnect cables, remember anytime we're connecting or disconnecting cables, we're going to turn off power first. So we're going to go ahead and close this down. So we're going to go next. We're going to update firmware, and then it actually is starting to pick up the same outside temperature that's out here as well. So firmware has been updated because it stopped flashing the error codes back and forth in between. We have data, we have Wi-Fi going back and forth here, and we are all connected. We're gonna power this down now, so we're gonna shut off our power. And now we can disconnect our cable from the actual Coolbot jumper for the outside part, and we'll leave this stuff all connected and in place for the installation once we go into the cooler. Real quick recap here, we updated our firmware on our Coolbot. We have the Coolbot Pro, which is the inside unit right here. Coolbot Pro is going to be the inside unit. It's got the different sensor probes, the data connection cable, the heat cable on it, and then your actual power cable right here. So that's going to be that important part there. And then you have this little thing called a jumper. This is the portion that is going to go externally, and it has your Wi-Fi and data connection. It will gather the Wi-Fi, and then it'll push it internally to the main control panel that's inside with your data cable outside. So we have all of the technology and the data side of it set up on the back end, and we're going to take all this now and we're going to switch our attention to retrofitting our cooler out here in the pole barn and getting that set up to receive the AC unit, and then all of this, the Coolbot functions that will make it usable for our walk-in cooler. All right, so one of the first things that we need to do in the cooler itself here, it's gonna be dark, sorry I don't have light here at the moment, but we need to pick a spot on the side of our cooler here that we're gonna put this in. They recommend being about a foot off the ceiling to the top of the unit, and then it's gonna be vented externally, obviously, and it's going to be cut a 1/2 inch bigger than the actual opening that we want to have measured for the unit itself. So we're going to put 4 holes in the corners of our map out that we're going to do on the inside here. We're going to have that be the 4 holes right there that we take and connect with the Sawzall to drop this square or this rectangle piece of cooler out, so that we can slide our AC unit in there, and then we can get all of our electronics and all that stuff mounted on the inside of this unit. So like I said, we're gonna go 14 3/4 deep by 19 wide is our tight fitting, and then we're gonna add a 1/2 inch onto the overall setting for that. We're working from within the unit for a reason, because we wanna make sure that we're seeing like these little holes and stuff like that. On the outside, it looks kind of flush, so you can't really see it a lot. And then we also wanna make sure we're measuring from the inside of the unit down the right distance. So we're going to do all of our layout inside of the cooler so that we don't accidentally lay it out the wrong way, and we have a good bearing on where we're at. I want to hit this solid panel right here on the side, because there's a couple points on the cooler where they come together that we want them to miss those joints if we can. So we're going to do some cutting from inside the cooler and the layout inside the cooler here. All right, so we've got our layout here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's going to be a foot down from the top right here. And then we've got our width, our 1/2 inch bigger, and then our depth here is a 1/2 inch bigger as well. And we've got it all laid out and mapped out, and we're going to put the unit right through that there. All right, so there's our 4 corner holes right there. All right, we're using a Sawzall with the blade on it here. We're gonna punch through, and we're gonna connect these lines together from the inside, because that's where we want it to be laid out the best. That angle there is a little off, but I think that 1/2 inch variance will help out. So one of the things that we can do here is put some aluminum tape, like HVAC tape through here. I'm gonna see if I've got some of that on hand here. The other thing I think you could probably use if you had some of that window wrap for like your, for doing like a window as well. So just something to kind of seal this off so that moisture and things like that don't get into here. So let's see if we got some of that tape on hand. So I'm just gonna do a section. I don't have a super thick piece here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a section over the inside just to get this edge protected here. And then for now, we'll do some over the outside too, and we'll see what we can connect here. So we went ahead and wrapped that aluminum tape on the bottom here, on the edge here, and then for some just edge protection, we just went ahead and put a little duct tape around it as well so that we don't have any rough edges. And then we're gonna get the air conditioner and slide it from the inside out this way. All right, so a couple of things we're gonna do to prep this here is we're gonna take off the any of the protective fins on the side that would seal it off, because we're not gonna use those because it's not like we're taking up a gap. And then we're gonna take off the front filter and the front actual protection of the unit as well. So Coolbot does send a whole bunch of information on what units they recommend. The big ones that they work with is LG and then some other products. But our air conditioner that we had on hand, that we literally used it for like, I don't know, it was like a month or two. This is one of the approved ones that we have to work with as well. So we're just gonna take off the front of this here. This is a 12,000 BTU unit that we're using, which is the size that you jump on Coolbot. They give you specs for what ACs they recommend. And then they also give you recommendations for the size BTU units that you want to use to cool it to whatever temperature. So by us using a 12,000 BTU system, we should be able to get down into the 34 to 36 degree range in the cooler, especially with it being insulated and all those good things. So we should be able to get this slid into place and then tack in a retainer screw at the top right here. Gotta get through the door. There we go. All right. Get myself turn around. All right. There we go. So the retainer feet on the bottom are in there. All right, so we did some wiring in here. I don't want to do any wiring specific to your task because our task is different than yours. But basically, you use one of the holes that are already existing up here. As you can see, we got the light back functioning in here. And then we have a hole that was existing up top that we're going to grate stuff in, that we dropped a wire in to put an outlet in here as well. So however you have your existing cooler or freezer unit, whatever you're using for your insulating structure, you can go ahead and use an existing hole or make a hole, and then you can run your power into it and mount a power jack inside. So what we're going to have in here is the air conditioner plugged in right here, and then we're going to plug in our Coolbot system to this as well. So then the Coolbot and then the AC unit will be plugged in interior with the power hooked up exterior, and then we're going to get all the Coolbot structure then mounted over here as well, right alongside it. So it's above the AC unit. You don't want to mount anything below the AC unit because you can get condensation or any moisture buildup in there. So we're going to put the Coolbot unit right next to it here. And then because we have that hole existing, we're going to run a data cable right out through there and mount the temperature probe on the front side of here as well. We do have an existing temperature probe in here from the existing unit that's like an LCD readout in here. But obviously we're going to hook up the Coolbot system in totality as well. So let's get those things hooked up here real quick. We'll get the unit mounted on the wall here and we'll take you through that process. All right, remember that important piece of equipment I showed you about here? This little piece of aluminum foil they talked about? This is the temperature probe right here up against the fin. So we're going to take that one with the red heat cable and we're going to get this right up here and we're going to wrap this around it. So you're going to crimp it around here, and then we're going to roll the bottom up here and get this crimped around it here. And this is the aluminum foil that will help reflect that heat. Because what you're doing basically is you're telling the unit, hey, it's not cold enough in here yet. And this this unit is overriding this one here. So we're gonna keep that there. And then we have our fin probe and we have our room probe right here. The fin probe is gonna go right in here. I have to do the exact check here, but I think they said between the bottom and the second here. So we're gonna make a spot right in here and get the fin probe into here. So let me double check the instructions on that and not mess that up. So I referenced it, and here's the second and the bottom fin. We're gonna go right in between here. And I just have, they said to use a pencil or a, something to get in there. We're just gonna make a gap, and we're gonna grab the one that says fin, and we're gonna get a spot big enough just to slide that into there. So we're just gonna push this apart a little bit here. Gonna get that to get right in between the fins. Right there, and that was about right to where it's holding it in there nice and tight. We're just gonna give a little push back over to make sure it stays. There we go. We're just crimping that back in place with the metal. So then the only thing we have left is to get the outside done. So we're going to get this data cable, and I'm going to run this data cable back out through the existing hole, and then we're going to pull all the extra out of the unit so it's not sitting in the unit. Maybe feed it to me once I get it up there. I'm going to mount this right up here so it's out of the way of working down low here. And the wire is going to be stored on top of it, out of the way there. So we're going to mount it up and out of the way. But that should be there, and we should be able to power it up. Now let me double check again here. We have our fins probe, we have our temperature probe. We'll get these wires cleaned up here, but we got our internal temperature probe here. And actually we're going to let these two hang out together because they're both internal temperature probes that we can see them. Remember the Coolbot we can see over the device, over our phone or over a computer with internet access to see what's going on with this. So let's go ahead and fire it up, give power to this thing, and see how this all comes together. Remember we talked about data cables being connected first, so we made sure that our Coolbot Pro inside as well as the jumper unit outside that's receiving it, we've connected that first, we've verified that, and now we're going to power it up. Hopefully this all connects now. 85, we've got no error codes, and if it does fluctuate error codes, it's just getting set up, but it's set up now. So we're gonna turn the AC unit on. We're gonna go to cool. We're gonna go cool, and we're gonna go fan speed high. Make sure that nothing else is on. We're going to drop the temperature all the way down. Sorry for the fan noise, guys. So we're all the way down. We're on high and cool. So fan speed's high, temperature setting cool. So let's go and close the door up and see how the unit runs for a little bit here. And we'll hear the compressor kick on and all that good stuff as well. All right, so while we're letting it run and do its kind of battle test on the Coolbot right now, we've got the computer hooked up over there. It should be sending data back and forth, and then it's cooling down right now. We have not sealed off all of the gaps yet with great stuff, some type of expandable foam or insulation, but like I said, we're letting the unit run right now. It took us just a little bit longer to install because it's our first time, first of all. Second of all, we did have to kind of set up our own electrical in there. We took electric that was run over here to test the old ancient cooling unit when we first got it. So we rerouted that, put it through a hole there, and had that protected in place, mounted it to the wall. So there's the lights working inside now, and so is the actual AC unit with the Coolbot system. And overall, I would say the system's really easy to install. If you can jump onto Facebook Marketplace or something like that, if you can maybe reach out to someone who's doing some remodeling or something like that, if someone's got a cooling unit or a refrigeration unit that's going out of, they're getting it demoed or pulling it out of a building, or maybe they just no longer see use for it and you can get it for a great deal, it's already set up to do the job of keeping it insulated, and it's a box that's pre-made for you. So that's one way of getting around and retrofitting that unit and taking away all that expensive, hard to work on, HVAC unit up there and converting it over to this. Like I said, we used a 12,000 BTU unit because we wanted to be able to bring the temperature down lower. Coolbot has all the specs online for you to check out. So what are the preferred AC units? What are the ones that are maybe not preferred, but they're still on the list that you can work with? We ended up going with a secondary list one. It's what we had. We only, like I said, it was a brand new unit that we only used for like a month. And when we found out that Coolbot had this system, we talked to our friends about it, and we said this would be a great way for us to kind of add some diversity to us having some space to use here with this cooler that was not being used for other purposes because it wasn't working. So Coolbot's installed, system's running, battle test is happening, and that's where we're at right now. So room temp's dropping, AC unit's working, and it looks like the target temperature that we're going for is 42. You probably can't make that out up here, but 42 is a target temperature that we have set right now, and then we can drop that down lower when we go into the settings. Coolbot system, guys, if you're interested in the product, we have a link below. It helps us out. Yes, they give us a little bit of a kickback for the product itself. It's like 25 bucks off for you, 25 bucks back to us, but that's the nuts and the bolts of how the system gets put into your cooler at home. All right, guys, a little noisy in here, I know, with the fan running right now, but this thing has been awesome so far. We've been letting it run, we've been letting it cycle. We can hear the fan is running, and then we hear the compressor kicking on and off and running through cycles. I went ahead and did a notification to myself. You can set up for notifications to be sent email or text. If the temperature gets too warm, you get a text notification or an email. So it's got a graph showing the hourly breakdown of where the temperatures are sitting at. You've got it on your phone, on your computer. You can go to your devices and you can click on your different, if you've got multiple devices, you can see multiple devices on your account. You can do your settings, so you can actually reset your temperatures. I don't know if you can see right there right now or not, but you can actually change your set points to your notifications on like high temperatures and low temperatures, and then also set points as to what you want the actual temperature set at right from your phone through the internet. So a couple things that we've noticed is leaving the face off. You know, it looks a little bit more messy as far as like your wires go, but it makes your wires so that they're actually in the right place. They're not getting pinched by your other plastic components. And then I did on my device, they talk about the LG units not having a secondary sensor. I did have to come in here, sorry I forgot to grab it on camera, but I did track down there's a secondary sensor, so that heat sensor is wrapped around the primary sensor that was right here that I showed you guys. But then right on, if you pull the face off, right behind this control unit here, there's a copper coil that the secondary sensor was just sitting right there. They give super clear instructions on where to find these things. Once again, I use this brand right here. It's the LCD readout like it's supposed to be, and it does have a secondary sensor. So not everyone's going to have that issue. Like I said, I know that their go-to brand at Coolbot is the LG. I think it's just because it's the one that they've kind of battle tested the most. But this definitely fell within one of their recommended systems. It's working great for us. It's a 12,000 BTU cooling unit. Currently it's 37 degrees in here. I am getting cold on this hot day, which is awesome. But yeah, it's been super cool. It works well. It's been cycling. It's been doing all the things. We just went ahead and stuffed some insulation up in some of the holes right now until I get some great stuff up here and get that foam shot in. And then I'm going to do some final sealing off around the actual unit itself. But other than that, I've got these out of the way. The heater that goes on here, they want that out of the way of the fin area. The fin one is in place here. This is going to go to good use. And it's been great because within a matter of 30 to 40 minutes, the temperature drops significantly. And now it's been holding its temperature. So it's nice to know that I don't need to let this unit run non-stop during times of not using it, and that it will cycle and it will cool down very quickly. So that is another versatile option for us as well. So overall, Coolbot Pro with the external Wi-Fi connection, really cool system, and awesome DIY follow tutorials that walk you right through the process. So Hope you check them out. Check out the link below. Follow us at Heartway Farms for more information on how to be versatile and resilient at your homestead.